Karnataka elections are just around the corner, and while Congress, BJP and JDS have been fighting for overall development of the state, Bengalureans are a worried lot as to what is going to happen to their beloved city. Better infrastructure, better roads, better educational opportunities, better safety for women, or better job opportunities. Asianet Newsable is in conversation with Chairman of the Board of Manipal Global and a Bengaluru warrior, Mr. Mohandas Pai. With Mr. Prasad Bidappa, Fashion Director, we have Ms. Priya, Chetty, Rajagopal, a CXO consultant and a citizen warrior. So you are considered as a Bangalore warrior, someone who fights for a better Bengaluru. So what would you expect, or what should the people of Bengaluru expect from its leaders, irrespective of the party that wins?
I think that Bangalore needs a lot of things. It's going to be very difficult to condense it all into, one statement as such. But Bangalore needs development above everything else in every sector, whether it's infrastructure or whether it is, pollution control, garbage control, whether it needs traffic to, be regulated more. These things have been done in other states. We need to replicate it also.
See, let us first ask ourselves, what do Bengalureans want? For the last 10 years, there's been a steady deterioration in the quality of life for Bengalureans. We have a traffic problem. There are too many vehicles in the road. The traffic is managed badly. There's not enough infrastructure on the roads. We have a problem of garbage in the city. The garbage is not cleaned. And cleaning garbage does not take money. It takes management, and there's a lot of corruption. We don't have enough water. 50% of the city is supplied by tankers. And our power situation is okay, but there's intermittent in some parts. And there is a tanker mafia, there's a garbage mafia, etc. We don't have enough public transport. But now the government has announced 266 kilometers of metro. Our air is getting foul because of pollution. We want stronger action to reduce pollution. And we also want to make sure that law and order is protected.
My expectations are really very simple. One is that we have a charter for the city, which has been developed through the revised master plan, through so many different agencies, parastatal or otherwise. We really need to get our city to follow that, have something a little bit more stringent, and work with that in the future. I think the ad hoc kind of departures that we've been having in the last few years has encouraged a lot of different things like the steel flyover and a lot of departures which have negatively impacted the city. So one of my pet concerns is heritage, and we have a citizen-led initiative called Heritage Beku, and I'm very concerned because in the next 5-10 years I don't know what's going to be left of the Bangalore that we know and we love. But coming back to your specific question, I think the city and citizens like us, who perhaps earlier didn't have either a chance to engage or had a chance to even have a conversation or an impact, are asking for more transparency. Not just a word, not a cliche, but asking for more transparency and wanting it to be demonstrated. And the second thing is to be able to insist on public consultation on matters that affect the city.
Unfortunately, Bangalore seems to always vote for the opposition government from the center. And this has always held us back because it's like whoever rules at the center says, oh, so you, Karnataka, did not vote for us, we'll teach you a lesson. And we're repeatedly being taught this lesson until you see a city that is in its death throes, literally. Sometimes I keep wondering, what would Bangalore look like aerially during Russia? It must be a nightmare sight to see the kind of infrastructural problems that crop up. For example, if it rains during Russia, life becomes a nightmare. It takes you 2 or 3 hours to reach the airport from the center of town. And I feel that these are all problems that could have been addressed in a very scientific way. Whenever any new government comes in and takes control, they promise us a lot of things. Like, for example, the BJP has got a Bangalore-friendly manifesto. Everyone has a Bangalore-friendly manifesto. There is nothing unique about anybody's manifestos at the end of the day. And I always feel that Bangaloreans get the short end of the stick because we contribute 60% to the GDP of Karnataka and we receive less than 25% back, if at all. And I feel that everything from the electrical problems of this state to the water problems that we have because of the Mahadai and the Kaveri issues, all these things are affecting us very badly. And Bangalore cannot be in an unplanned growth trajectory. It has to be extremely planned, and experts have to be put into it. You can't expect the bureaucrats who do not have much experience in terms of on-the-ground kind of issues to just take over a project and do it very well. They have to call in experts. They have to form very powerful committees of people who are truly committed to a positive vision of Bangalore and come up with some kind of a 5-year plan to show us what they can do with Bangalore. How will they regulate the traffic? How will they create, solutions for the infrastructure problems? How will they create solutions for our electrical and water problems, for the housing, for garbage and pollution control? Look at the last 4 years. I have seen nothing happen very much in terms of the control of garbage. There have always been, short-term solutions. Ugly. Let's throw it over here, let's throw it over there. And then the villagers rise and protest. I live in Yelahanka, very, very close to another very large garbage, the Mavali garbage dump. And I can tell you that during the monsoons, we have a nightmare time with the smell and the kind of, garbage that comes out onto the streets of Yelahanka also.
So while this elections is about the state, let's not get away from the fact that Karnataka is not Bangalore. But I must be selfish here and say that, my conversation here with you right now is primarily as a Bengalurean. And we are very concerned that after all we've gone through as citizens of this beautiful city that we're proud to be a part of, that we realize what can go wrong. But the good news is we've also realized how much an engaged citizenry can be involved and can be responsible for making some of it go right. So that's very important. So I think the next few years are going to see probably one of the best engagements going forward. I wouldn't say that this is good, bad or ugly. I'm just saying it is going to be an engagement worth watching because the citizenry is switched on. The government is going to have their hands full with ensuring that they follow protocol. They follow what the Constitution requires them to do. Ward committees, getting people engaged at the lowest level of governance to the highest, having more participation. I think you're going to have possibly a truly more democratic shoulder-to-shoulder engagement in the years going forward. And that is what, as a citizen, I need to see. Because that's what really we've signed up for, right? As a democracy, we want to participate in our city. We certainly don't want to see it going down the tube. And because we can't help it.
Just the other day, a young boy who heckled a journalist was caught by the police and made to sit in the police station for about 10-12 hours for no charges, just because this journalist happens to be powerful. He seems to have called up the CM's office. I think it's a terrible infringement of our rights. And we want justice and law and order to work in this state so that there is no corruption. Now, these are all the requirements that people want. For the last 10 years, governments have come, government have promised. The government seem to be under the impression that we invest in Bangalore, they lose rural votes. They forget Bangalore is the milk cow for the city. It pays 60% of the taxes of Karnataka. And Bangalore is the only, they must invest in other towns to make them bigger. They've not been able to do it because they just don't have a grand plan. So Bengalureans want a solution to the traffic problem. They want clean streets. They want payments like Tender Shore where they can walk on the payments. They want water in their houses. They want all the sewage to be treated, not flow in the roads. And they want to make sure that they feel safe. They want a good policing system, the 25% vacancy in police. These are things that are normally expected in any part of the city, in any part of the world. And we want a local government which is free from corruption, which is not captured by Goondas, by corrupt corporators. And we want a place where people don't have to bribe to get a license for a house, to get a power connection. In the last 4 years, most people who got power connection had to pay a bribe. So I think we want clean governance and a good improvement in our lives. That's what Bengalureans want. These are very minimum requirements of Bengalureans. And we are all worried how the new government will come. If you look at the manifesto of the BJP, they say we're going to waive farmers' loan. Farmers are 16% of society. Only 16%. Now they say we're going to put so much of money is going to be waived because farmers are there. You give them an income support, 8,000 crores, 8,000 crores was waived by the Siddaramaiah government. Now you're going on, take all the subsidies to farmers. The state governments must be giving them subsidies of 40-50,000 crores. And there's a very large amount of subsidy. Give them money, help them with education, help them improve their productivity, but not dole. Go on giving dole to what extent? So I think we need a new form of government which is based on individual empowerment, where the governments help poor people with skills, education, they give them income support so they're not hungry, but you invest in development, invest in growth.
So there are very many problems to be addressed, and I think that whatever government comes into power should create a Bangalore committee and put very, very committed people from the citizenry, and then put the bureaucrats in charge of them to implement the ideas that they come up with. In many times, the Bangalore Political Action Committee, BPAC, and also other very good stakeholders like a citizens group of Bangalore have come together and fought against issues that we feel do not help Bangalore, the steel flyover, for example. And then the government backed off and said, okay, we won't build it. But what was the need to launch a program like that? How much of man hours have been wasted in putting together a project that is of no use to anybody? So at the end of the day, people then feel we are being taken for a ride, that all the big projects are being there, put up as cash cows for the politicians to make money off. I mean, that's a very harsh thing to say, but it unfortunately is what we are going to feel if we do not see any development. I have seen in the previous government the way they treated the Western Ghats, the kind of permissions that were given to a state of Kerala to take the high-tension wires through the forests of Kurg and Mangalore. How is it possible that we do things like that? That is the catchment area of the river Kaveri. It's beyond being a holy place. It is something that you need to ensure that no deforestation happens, that absolutely, nothing goes wrong with the catchment section. Because the minute there is a problem at the Kaveri, Karnataka is faced with a water problem. If Karnataka is faced with a water problem, then Tamil Nadu is faced with a water problem, and so is Goa to a certain extent. So how do we address these problems? It can only be with experts who come on to genuine committees and create a roadmap for Bangalore for the way ahead, to say that this is what needs to be done across the various sectors of Karnataka. And I speak for all of Karnataka. I'm not just talking about Bangalore. We really need some heavy surgical intervention, and this is what I'm looking forward to.
If you see the manifesto of JDS, they again have taken out a very farmer pro manifesto out. Plus, if you see BJP's manifesto, they have made a Bangalore specific manifesto for Bangalore, where they have concentrated on 3 Gs: Goonda, Gundi and Garbage, where they are trying to eradicate these 3. What is your take on both these manifestos, sir?
See, the JDS, it depends on where you derive your power base. The JDS derives its power base on Mandya and the farmer community. So they'll give all the things to the farmers. And I don't know whether they're going to come to power. The BJP gets its power base from the middle class and from urban areas. So they'll focus on the cities. And the Congress is trying to focus on the city and everywhere else. And the Congress has said they're going to invest in Bangalore 1 lakh crores, or of which about 50-60,000 crores is going to be the metro. So I think it's good that both these parties who have the best chance of forming a government are focusing on Bangalore, because Bangalore is the only big thing Karnataka has got. If you remove Bangalore and look at per capita income from the rest of the state, it's pathetic. We become a very backward looking state. We'll not be among the top 5 states, we'll be in the bottom 10 states. It's because of Bangalore and what Bangalore does that the state is forward. Let's be honest, let's admit it. We can't kill Bangalore. So I think, some of it is regressive, but we live in hope.
I think Bangalore would go way beyond a cliche. I think it's a good cliche to have, the 3 Gs. It's a good mnemonic people will remember. And I think in one way, it's nice that they have noticed that such a critical part of the city is being neglected. But there are so many other issues, and the issues are on security, the issues are on the lakes, there are issues on environment. There are many things that do not fit into a easy cliche. So the city focus is a good one, because we have seen the downsides of a party that's been focused primarily outside of Bangalore, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. All I'm saying is that somewhere the city took a back seat all these years, almost like a stepchild because of the lack of interest. So while I'm glad to see this, I hope that it's holistic, and I hope that the focus is not only genuine, but engaged and long-term. It's easy to say this because it sounds cool. I can give you 3 Cs and 5 Gs and 2 Ls because it sounds cool. But what am I going to do with it, and how am I going to action this? That's probably worth looking into.
See, regarding Goondaism, it is a law and order problem. And for them to say that they're going to come in and eradicate it, why didn't they eradicate it when they were in power? Why didn't the Congress eradicate it when they were in power? I mean, is this something that is a fact of life, that we're expected to live with chain snatchers and people who just create trouble for women, Eve teasers? Why is the government not cracking down on these issues and now using it as a pole sop? I don't really see it as a very serious issue, because If you're saying that Goondas can be controlled, this is something the government's mandate is all about. The reason we voted them into power is to have a safe life, to be able to walk on the streets at night without being worried about being stabbed or killed or anything like that. And regarding potholes, are they joking? I mean, at the end of the day, which government has done anything about the Gundi culture over here? The Gundi means in Kannada, the pothole, I presume. Every day we hear about people dying on scooters because they drove into a pothole or tried to avoid a pothole and went into a bus or some story like that. I mean, this is just not acceptable. You cannot use it as a poll sop when it is your basic duty to get these things done. Whichever government it is, whether it is JDS or Congress or the BJP, I am asking, why was it so impossible during your tenures to fix this? And as it comes to garbage collection, the third point, the less said the better, because there has been absolutely no effort made towards basic segregation. Today I can see people throwing garbage wherever they feel like it. There is a point when I go out on the streets of Yelahanka, I live in a farmhouse in Avalhalli. Do you know that contractors who destroy old buildings come and dump their junk wherever they want to? If we ring up the local MLA and speak to him, he doesn't even bother to pick up the phone. He doesn't even come on inspection rounds. There is a house near us where he's made an open sump for his toilets, which is overflowing all the time. How are people allowed to do this kind of thing with such impunity? We have no segregation. The Purakarmikas of Bangalore expect you also to do something and give them segregated garbage. You cannot expect them to do the segregation. But we have no punishment for not segregating garbage. We have absolutely no rainwater harvesting. These are all things that are basic, requirements for a city in growth. And whatever it is, Bangalore is India's most modern city. We are the international face of India. Why do we have to put up with basic problems like this? I mean, you're talking about, problems that are so basic that should not even be on the table for discussion because they are far more important issues. But today, if our lives are governed by Goonda, Gundi and Garbage, I'm sorry to say that we are a failed state then.
Do you think this elections will result in a hung assembly? And if so, who do you think is gonna come into power?
Yeah, no, that's a question I wish I could answer, because if I answered it right, and I'm going to have a lot of people calling me up and saying, how soon can you come onto my TV channel? No, I just don't have a clue. In some ways, I want to apologize, being a very active citizen perhaps, but I'm also so distanced from politics and from an understanding of who does what and why and how these mechanics work. But I do know one thing, that it's going to be very difficult and it's going to be very, very tight. The normal reaction that one has is the moment something doesn't go right is to say, the anti-incumbent thing of just going to the other guy just because it seems like a better deal. I don't know about that anymore even, so I don't know whether that backlash will kick in or not. So on many grounds, I really can't say. I hope that we vote with our head, but some of the choices that we have today are really tough. Believe me, we are telling everybody to go and vote.
Quite frankly, I'm today old enough to know that whichever government is in power, the problems never go away. The problems remain the same. And each government passes the buck on to the previous government, forgetting quite easily that they also were the previous government just a few years ago. So if they were unable to address the problem at that time, I have very little hope that they will address the problem now. So whichever government comes into power, I mean, it's a very, very difficult prediction to make, because in India, I have learned one thing: never predict, because it can always go against whatever popular thinking is or scientific thinking is. Today, they say that there is a neck and neck race between the BJP and the Congress, and that the JDS will therefore become the kingmakers, because they are the ones who are going to tip the balance in case there is a hung assembly. But what I feel is that today, if a party wins even by a slender majority, then they should become the ruling party without being dependent on any other party. There should be a rule coming into place saying that even if you've won by a minimum amount of, say, 10,000 votes or whatever, that you have that many more MLAs in your pocket, then give them the power and the strength to be able to make change happen without being dependent on external political forces. Because everyone's going to demand their pound of flesh. Tomorrow, if JDS says we are going to support Congress, they will demand their pound of flesh. And I suppose they're right in doing it. Otherwise, why would they align with them? So I'm just hoping that whichever party it is, that Karnataka votes in a majority party and strengthens their hands to allow them to make significant and important change. That is the most important thing for me.
We're dealing with the best of the worst. And I hate to say this, but for my constituency, I know I'm struggling with that. So will it be hung? Will it not be? I don't know. But whatever it is, I mean, however the mechanics and the dynamics work, I truly hope with my hand on my heart that, you know, we have a city that and a state that is run with some heart and some mind so that we can go forward rather than feeding ourselves within. We are able to progress as well, take care of our poor, take care of our, our progress. And I think it's such a simple requirement to make sure that we're equitable and we take care of our state in its holistic sense. It's wealth, it's people, it's environment in every way. I think that is really what we want. So, as I said, however cliched it sounds and very Pollyanna type, that I can only hope that it'll be good, yeah.
You know, trains to be built to Kushalnagar and all sorts of things which were going to denude the forests even more. Why do all the governments have no respect for the environment? We live on this earth, this planet as viruses really, you know. And if we go too far, you know, the earth will get rid of us. We are completely dispensable. The human race is the most dispensable thing on earth today. And yet we take advantage. We do this indiscriminate distribution of garbage. We foul the waters of our lakes and rivers. Our air quality is so poor. What is it at the end of the day that we really need to achieve? You know, we need to get our act together. We need to create a kind of 10-point program, a 15-point program of what has to be done for Bangalore. And I think a strong citizen's voice has begun to awake in Bangalore. There are very many good people who have come together to form these demands. And these demands now have to be met. The government, whoever you are, whichever government comes into power, is answerable today to the people of Karnataka. And this, I think, we will all ensure.
See, we need to, as citizens, understand what are the root causes of corruption. The root cause of corruption is the need to get money for the elections. Elections are expensive. You need to raise money for the party. And if citizens don't give money by check and come and give money, I've given money. I've given a large amount of money to all the three parties and to some individuals. I've given money. My personal money is not company money. I have given money. I appeal to all the billionaires of Karnataka give money. Some of them just laughed at me. So the politics are bad. We don't want to give money. It's a shame because the people with wealth don't give money to politics, to all political parties. How can we have a clean government? We can't have a clean government. Most of these politicians are good people. They come into politics with a view to have public service. But they get corrupted because money is required for politics and nobody gives them money. So they make deals. And they're forced to do illegal acts, they're forced to do corrupt deals.
I don't know. I haven't really thought about who would be an ideal candidate. You know, there's a lot of, obviously, some amount of irritation that all of us who have struggled with the steel flyover the last year. So there has been a sense of disrespect coming from perhaps the politicians that has bothered us as citizens greatly. So I'm not too sure who we'd like to see back. But in terms of someone who comes in, I think it's important to have a person who's got their feet firmly rooted in the state while their eyes are firmly focused on the future. So if we are able to get this magic element of someone who understands the people, who is reasonably transparent, and is a man or a woman of the people, while still keeping their eye on a very glorious future for Karnataka, honestly, I mean, that risk we should take. There will be some ups and downs in supporting such a person, but I think that's really what we should hope for. So.
Great, ma'am. Thank you so much. That was Priya, Chetty, Rajagopal talking to Asianet Newsable about what Bengalureans should expect from their leaders. With Abubakar Siddiqui, this is Shomik Mitra for Asianet Newsable.